Welcome back. I'm in the studio in Claris with a few visitors and that are here to attend, or rather present to us, a report produced by the Hauraki Gulf Forum, and that's going to be taking place in an hour at 3 o'clock at the Claris Health Centre, and you are much invited to take part in that. Now, sitting with me, I've got Raywyn Pert. Hello.
Hello.
Raywyn, just briefly, can you just, I understand you've been involved in this report and you're also involved with the Environmental Defence Society. Maybe you can just explain to the listeners how you fit into the picture.
Yes, I was invited by the Hauraki Gulf Forum to contribute to a chapter on the report that really looked at how we were responding to the kind of challenges that Shane and Tim have just outlined in terms of the environment. What were we doing and was it enough? So I was involved in writing that material. In my broader role, I also do work for the Environmental Defence Society, and in that role I've been involved in researching and writing about the coastal and marine environment.
Now, we're talking about the Hauraki Gulf Forum's report here that's part of a series report that's put out regularly. Now, the forum itself brings together representatives from different government agencies to look at management issues for the Gulf. Can you explain to the listeners what are these the management objectives? What's the vision of the forum for a healthy Gulf?
Yes. I think what's been really helpful about having the forum is that collectively all those management agencies have been able to articulate what is it that we want to see in the Gulf. And I think those are things that everyone would want to see, that the Gulf is a place that's celebrated and treasured, that it's thriving with fish and shellfish and rich diversity of life, that it supports a sense of place, connection and identity, and that we have a vibrant economy. So it's really saying we want a healthy Gulf that we can all enjoy, and it's providing all those values and benefits that we want.
Now, the forum basically represents that desire by the country and government implicitly, because it was government that constituted the act that founded the forum, I think about 10 years ago now, 11. How many years ago would that be, Tim?
Oh, it was 2000, so
2000.
It's coming up to 11 years.
Okay, there we go. So in 11 years, the reports that have been produced have basically been reporting a declining state of the environment, and the quotes I set off here with at the beginning of the interview sort of said that there has been a collective failure to halt or reverse the decline in the Gulf's natural resources. Now, what's going wrong? Since if we've been talking about this for a long time, if the forum got constituted to do something about it, how come we're still going backwards?
Well, I think it's not as though people aren't doing things. There have been some very good things being done in the Gulf, and Tim talked about some of the fantastic work done on island restoration. I think the problem is that we're not being strategic enough, so we're not really focusing on those key things that matter in the Gulf. I think that there's a lot of gaps, so although things are happening, there's some key areas where we're not really dealing with the issues. And I think there's just a fragmentation. We have a lot of agencies beavering away in their little patch, but we're not connecting up the dots. And I think a key example of that is in something like fisheries. So, the Ministry of Fisheries, we're managing a stock like snapper. But meanwhile, sediments coming off the land and really destroying some of those very important nursery areas for the small snapper to grow and survive. So we need to be joining up those kind of dots. That's
well said, but there's a challenge in that. If there's so much already going on, and there's institutions like the Hauraki Gulf Forum that are attempting to bring together information that's available, get communication going and some coordination going, that still hasn't been enough. What is the next step to move forward here?
Well, I think I think the State of the Gulf report that's just been produced, it really provides a very helpful platform, because for the first time it identifies three key areas that we can mobilise behind and make a difference. One is to enhance fisheries, so those fisheries are thriving, there's more fish in the water for everyone. One is to keep all those sediment and contaminants on the land so they're not impacting on the marine area, so we've got high water quality, healthy estuaries and areas for our small fish to grow up in, and that we have a flourishing green-blue network. So the idea here is those network of restored island sanctuaries, that community involvement in restoring those areas. We start moving into the marine area and looking at restoring key areas there.
Now, that responds to your first criticism was that sort of lack of strategy in terms of the response that's been going on. Now, that strategy would, of course, involve getting government agencies together, but is that enough if government pulls behind it, or what else is needed?
Well, I think there's two things that needs to happen. We need all those government agencies to work together to develop a common way forward. But I think it's also really important that all the key players, all the key stakeholders in the Gulf work together on this. I think it's been unfortunate that in the past we've had conflict, high levels of conflict between stakeholder groups like the recreational fishers and the commercial fishers. We've had conflicts over marine protected area proposals, and obviously there was a key one here on Great Barrier Island where people were at loggerheads over these issues. So we've had conflicts between aquaculture proposals and fishers and boaties. And I think what needs to happen is we need to move out of that conflict mode. The mode we'll fight, we'll go to court, where there's winners and losers. We need to all sit around the table, work through these issues, recognise that everyone has something at stake. There's a wide range of values in the Gulf that we need to accommodate, and let's look at collectively how we can move forward and really address some of these key issues, because we will all benefit.
Now, I'm sure nobody would disagree with the principle of trying to find a common denominator, a common purpose that we can all unite around. But listeners here on the island, as residents, have been exposed to various government initiatives to kind of come through, and I think the one that's had the longest lasting effect perhaps has been the Resource Management Act. That I know people here on the island who, when it first got talked about and also kind of represented this sort of saying, okay, let's devolve the decision making down to ground level. Let's be outcome focused rather than regulating numbers and inputs. Let's build something that's has got ecological logic to it and has a purpose. That a lot of the people that were then rallying together and sort of standing up, yep, we want to be part of this, found themselves at the sharp end of a knife that basically undermined their own livelihood of being sustainable. That found that the administrative rationale that came along with that, the kind of rule making, was quite negative. And even I mean, this is very interesting in the reaction I had today when I talked about this report coming up, and I was told, yeah, I like these environmental things, but, and the but comes from some very lot of hurt down the track. So how do you get beyond this? Yes, it's nice to get together. To how can we all agree on this and make some sacrifices?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of unfortunate history in the way the Gulf's been managed, and that doesn't make it easy. Because, of course, that's in people's memories. But I think it is possible to move forward. Environmental Defence Society was involved in freshwater issues, in bringing together all those stakeholders, federated farmers, and the environmentalists and Fish and Game to actually see if they could agree on a way forward. That was an area also riven with conflict in the past, and that proved quite successful over a period of about 18 months. And the proposal is to look at doing something similar for the Gulf. So to bring all the people, all those parties together, to have a process, well-run, stakeholder-driven process, have an independent, highly skilled chair that can, if you like, make sure everyone has the ability to have their say, to bring in the right information and science, and to actually look at whether we can move forward. Because if we stay in our same mode, if we do what we're doing now, we're going to get the same result. If we stay in this sort of litigious kind of mode, I don't believe we're going to make a difference to the Gulf. This is something that needs everyone to get behind.
Now, with this everyone, people here on the island will again say the everyone is down in town, yeah, and they're going to say, here we go, here's another gravy train, yeah, for those town people, those institutions, and all the others. And this is a little quote I heard today as well. So how would you respond to that? Well,
my response would be the people on the island have a lot at stake here. You know, of anyone in the Gulf, the people on the island are living very close to the sea, dependent on the seafood, dependent on the health of that environment. that health is on a downhill trend. And so there's a lot at stake, and the people on the island need to be part of that. And absolutely, this, such a process has to be designed so that everyone is part of it. It's not another process that's imposed, but it's an open process where we can really look at some of these issues and look at how we can move forward.
So maybe in closing, can you tell us what we can look forward to? If that vision that Hauraki Golf Forum is presenting is fulfilled, what can we expect here on the island?
Well, what I would like to see is a golf that's full of life. I think we can look to see a golf where, once again, you see those large schools of fish, you see numerous seabirds, that we have lots more dolphins and whales, that our marine area starts to come to life and starts to be what it once was. And I think that's one of the major contributions of this piece of work, is it starts to talk about what the golf is an enormously productive environment, and it was absolutely full of life, and we can have that again if we manage it wisely.
Well, thank you very much. I've been talking to Raymond Pert with the Environment Defence Society, and before that I was talking to Tim Hyam and Dr. Shane Kelly, who are all here to present the report, The State of Our Gulf, and which is a State of the Environment report prepared by the Hauraki Golf Forum, and in a presentation that will take place soon at 3 o'clock down at Claris Health Centre. It's open to the public, and everybody who is interested in our Gulf should be there and just ask the questions of their own right. Thank you very much.